So first, like, know who you are. Like, that's the first question. Like, when it comes to training, it's not like what's the typical plan. No, like, typical plan is it's for a typical person that don't exist. Try to understand who you are. Like, what's your physiology, what's your capacities, what's your adaptation from the past, and your everything like that. And then from there, build. So train well, but never to the exhaustion. Like, train until a point that you feel like you have something left, and then go easy. Like, just enjoy the easy days and recover until your next hard training. Forget about like pace, and to just not be afraid of walking. And then running will come. Failure, it's there all the time. Like, and it's important, and it's a part of the game. It's a part of the journey. And it's where probably you analyze better. If you have like failure, like you will say, okay, try to analyze what's been good, what's been wrong, how can I improve? And it's that way that you can grow as an athlete, as a person, wherever. And I would say always focus on the process, not focus on the outcome, not focus on the result. And the result at the end is just like validation of that process, but it's not the only validation. To rationalize that way, I think it's a big part of dealing and taking the best of a failure, to try to analyze and not be upset and not be obsessed about the result, but just to try to see what's been good, what's been bad, and how you can do better the next time.
Welcome to another episode of the Extra Milist Show, episode number 52. My name is Floris Geerman, and on this podcast I interview different athletes, different coaches, and different health experts about ways to become a stronger, healthier, and happier athlete. And today is my second full-length interview with Kilian Jornet. He's the greatest mountain and ultra runner of all time. The first conversation we recorded at Hard Rock 100 in Silverado the evening before he broke the course record. And this second conversation for Extra Milist Show 52 we recorded just recently here, right after he won the UTMB 100 miler in Europe. We still had a lot to talk about, so in this episode we cover advice for runners looking to improve in their training and in their racing. We talk about recovery and recovery tools, about nutrition, about strength training, and of course his UTMB performance of a lifetime. I would love to hear from you. What was one key takeaway from this episode? Please let me know in the comments on YouTube. This really becomes a great compilation. Even for that first interview that we had, there's more than 400 comments already with a bunch of different takeaways, and I'll make sure to link to that as well in the show notes. Without further ado, I hope you enjoy my second conversation with Kilian. Hello, Kilian. It's great to see you again. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed our last conversation, and it's nice to be talking to you again.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. First of all, congrats on an incredible race season. I mean, just in the last 6 weeks alone, you had the Hard Rock Colorado race, then the Sierra Zenal 31K, and also the UTMB 100 miler last week. So a lot of different back-to-back races. Before we dive into UTMB 2022, I just want to check, how is your recovery going after all of your hard efforts over here?
It's been good. Like, I didn't plan anything after UTMB. Like, I just wanted to relax. So this week after the race, I was just taking the bike with our daughters to the kindergarten. But actually on Saturday, so 1 week after UTMB, I did a local race here, like a 10K, 1,000 meters of elevation. And it felt good. Like, I felt like metabolism, it was well recovered. Then muscles, muscles were good, but some small tensions in some tendons, and you feel that you are not as still a bit the neuromuscular connections are still not there, but I feel at least metabolically well recovered.
You're one of a kind, man. I will have to say it. You already did a race again. Most people would be chilling for quite a while, celebrating. But I do think that is a way that you tend to recover quite well on your own as well. I saw on your Strava you recently already at a run of like 8,000-foot climb again. Like you're definitely out there.
Yeah, like it's nice weather. We had been like all the summer, it's been like raining every day here in Norway. And now like we came back from France and it's like sun and it's like all these nice things to do, like all these climbs and scrambles. So it's like, no way I will stay home. Like it's just like, yeah, need to enjoy what the weather offers.
It's so funny because I have some friends living in Alaska, and I think like your friend Max lives there. I have some friends living over there too, and they're saying a similar thing in Anchorage, where like the winter months are very dark and short, but then in the summer months, it's like the trail days are so long, and you spend as many hours as you can on the trails. It's a funny one that way. Do you use any type of recovery tools at all? Do you use like after a race like this, do you use like muscle recovery tools? Do you use ice bath? Or do you use like some of those compression boots? Or is there anything that works well for you?
Yeah, I saw actually like a few weeks ago a very nice like graph about like recovery, and it was like I don't know if you've seen it. Like is
I
this
saw that one.
to access like it's like what's like more efficient and what's more expensive. And you could see what's more efficient. It's often not that expensive. It's sleep, food, and just like connection to nature and like just not stress situation. So like I practice that. Like I try to sleep normal and eat like as I would do normally, and just like listen to the body and say, okay, like now I don't feel motivated to go for a run, so I rest. I feel motivated to go for a ride, I do. But just like, yeah, I haven't been using like kind of any tool, like, yeah.
That was a great article. I loved seeing that one as well. And it was quite eye-opening too, indeed, with the cost and the effort there. The part that I thought always stands out in some of those is the importance of sleep. It's free and it's still one of the most underutilized like performance tools available for athletes there. So you definitely pay attention to your sleep as well then, is that correct?
Well, yeah, like I often don't sleep that much. Like my average sleeping time is like 6 hours, but that's what I feel I need for recovery. Like if I don't put an alarm after 6 hours, I will wake up. So that's good with the girls because like they wake up very early, like 5 in the morning, normally 6 in the morning if we are lucky. So yeah, like 6 hours, it feels right for me. But yeah, I try to get that well and just to see if I need more sleeping or if I need to recover a bit, take an easy day, when the focus on recovery, like for example, after hard rock, before Surginal or between Surginal to UTMB, it was like, now the goal number one is not to build any capacities, but to recover. So it was like, okay, today I feel like I'm not that motivated that I feel that I need to recover. I just do like a 30-minute run or I rest. And that's the best tool, better than like do any expensive things.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes when I do look at certain high performing athletes who are putting a lot of time in training and racing, they sometimes do work though with, let's say, physical therapists or chiropractors or getting massages. Do you work with a physical therapist at all? Or is this more on your own that you're working on what needs help in the body?
I do go to like, we have one neighbor that it's actually one of the best chiropractors I have ever seen, like in the world. And I go to him like maybe once a month, especially because I have a big difference between my right and left legs since 2006. I had I broke my patella. So since then, I have a big difference on the leg. So each time, like my back have like some twisting and every time is the same things that he's fixing, and it feels good help. So yeah, I definitely go to a chiropractor, but like, yeah, one time every month or every second month, kind of. Yeah,
there you go. Let's switch over and start talking about UTMB, because the race just happened. It was an incredibly exciting race to watch. How did you feel going into this race? Like, you have had like a successful race season leading into it, but you also had some challenges come in over there throughout the training leading up to it. So how did you feel going into it on race day?
So it was very interesting because, like as you mentioned, this season it was like a very big build up before Zegaman, then before Hard Rock, and those two races were like very smooth. Like I had that plan, and it just happened how I was planning. And then after Hard Rock, the recovery was super good. Like I started training right away after the race. Like 2 days after Hard Rock, I started training very easy, but then a big week, like 110 miles the week, like 2 weeks after Hard Rock, and then like feel like super good on shore. Like I was doing all my personal best, like in the all my training loops. So I was like, wow, that sounds good for the rest of the season. Then actually, it was a race here in Norway, a part of the Golden Tour Series, which my Emily, my wife, she was running. And actually, it was like a COVID outbreak there. So like many athletes had COVID on that, and she got positive. And I was like, oh, I feel good. Like I don't think I have got it. Like I was feeling good, but 2 days or 3 days before Sjördinal, when I was traveling down, I saw that my HRV was like dropping a lot and my pulse was like climbing a lot, like 10, 15 pulse more, and then like HRV like just dropping. And I was thinking the first day I was thinking, that might be the travel, but then it kept like that. Second, third day it was like pulse.
And this was your resting heart rate, or this was
my resting heart rate?
Oh wow, yeah.
So it was like, oh, maybe I'm working on something, but I was doing tests and it was negative. So Sjördinal, it definitely felt like I was doing a good time. Like I'm super happy about the time. Like I think I was in shape for doing much better, but it's my second best time at the race. So I was in good shape, but the feelings were very strange, especially in the muscles. Like the muscles were very, it's hard to describe, but they were like kind of heavy and not, it felt like I was a bit clumsy, kind of like I couldn't like keep a good lightness on the legs. And then like when I was pushing very hard, I felt like it was heavy kind of on the chest. So I was like, oh, that's strange. I was feeling very good in training, and I was thinking it might be just like a bad day, like a bad race, like it happens. But I was very happy about the time because I was like, as I mentioned, doing my second best time. But like a couple of days after Sjördinal, then the tests were positive. So I was thinking, okay, it might be that it's affecting me. So then I took like very easy, like between Sjördinal and UTMB, that it was like, I think 12 days. I did 3 rest days, one long run that it was 4 hours, and the rest it was like 30 minutes, 1 hour run, super easy, all like zone 1. So super, super easy. And then like I was talking to the doctors and it was like, okay, like it's now COVID's been like for like 15 days more or less. So it's gone, and it's you might feel a bit more on the legs, like on the muscle side, but especially in long distance when the effort is not high, like it's not intense, like the heart rate on that is much lower, it should be okay. But so I was confident because the training was good. I did a very good performance here now. So I was thinking I'm in very good shape. I have done good preparation for long distance too. So I just need to deal with what I feel in the legs and what I feel during the race, but just like to be attentive on that. But I would say, I didn't know what to expect, but I was confident on my shape. Yeah.
And at least you got the clearance from the doctor as well. I'm sure that helps too.
Yeah, that
you're not going against the advice of a doctor. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I'm just curious myself, like for example, next month I'm running the Chicago Marathon, and still I know at the start line, sometimes I experience some kind of raised nerves. I see the videos of UTMB. I see how many people are there at the start line and all of the chaos around it. Do you still feel certain race nerves at race day at the start of something like that? Or you have raced so much that at this point you don't really experience that so much anymore?
In a ultra, not much. Like I would say, like for example, before a vertical kilometer or Sjördinal, I would say I'm more like attentive. Like my awareness, it's higher. Like I'm more like open to all the senses, kind of, let's say it. Not like, I wouldn't say like the stress of the race. That's something that I think with experience, and also I try to rationalize, like, okay, that's just like taking energy from me, like it's a stupid thing. So I try to not have it, which is very easy to say. It's more difficult to do, but I think I get to that point. But before a ultra, like, it's just like, that you will be there for like 18, 20 some hours. So it's like, okay, it doesn't matter how you start. It doesn't matter the first half of the race. So it's just like, and especially, like, I would say it's very different if you go to a mountain expedition or something like that it can be long, but you always have this kind of risk management. So like the days before, you are always like, okay, tomorrow I need to deal with this rock falling or this serac or this thing that will, like, it's a risk. And then you are like always thinking about that and like how you will manage this dangerous situation, which in an ultra is like, okay, no, I have done my work and I just need to run. So I think it's good to rationalize all this.
Yeah, no, it is. It's a good point. And I think the more you keep calm in mind, the more your energy you can focus on the race instead of all this. You can't really have control over that at that point anyways. So
and then, like, it's very easy to do mistakes, both in short but also especially in long races. If you are like much more nervous, like you will trend like to maybe start stronger, because then with the adrenaline you don't feel like the same, like you feel it's easy, but your body is working hard. So I think, especially in long races, like the energy management, it's almost more important than the shape. So being nervous and like not doing mistakes when it comes to pacing, when it comes to energy management, it's key, and that can be very easily affected if you are like taking bad decisions that comes from like being too excited or being too nervous.
Yeah, absolutely. On the race day itself, you knew it was going to be a very competitive field. There was Jim Walmsley, there was Francois, Mathieu, like there were several really legit athletes over there. What was your race strategy beforehand? Did you have anything in mind of like, I'm going to stick with the group, I'm going to let some of them go? Like, what was your initial thoughts before you started the race?
So before the race, I was thinking, I know I have the speed. Like I don't think the speed would be a problem at any point of the race. But I was like wondering more about like how the muscles will, like always in a long distance. Like I more wonder about the muscles, how will react. So I was thinking kind of same as before Hard Rock, to say, okay, I want to take very easy for the first, or like very easy, like easy for the first 2/3 of the race, and then the race starts there. So try to keep a pace that it's where I feel that the effort it's that I really control it, that I'm not like pushing, that we are running, and if we run faster or slower, that it feels that it's what I want to do, that I don't push it, that it feels natural, and that's how I thought, like, okay, let's see. And of course, like, because I had the speed from the short distance, I was thinking that could be a pace that it already selects a group of people. And then to do like the last third of the race, like really racing. And it went well until Jim attack, and then I was like, should I like follow? Should I keep my plan? And then I tried to follow a bit, and then I was feeling bad, and then I kind of like say, okay, no, I need to reset everything, so go very down, and then like negative thoughts. So it was like, I didn't execute it as well as I wanted, but it ended up well.
Yeah, well, so I want to do a brief screen share over here and look at some of your race data, because your friends at Coros did a pretty detailed dive on your heart rate, your pace, your grade adjusted pace and everything. And I think this might be interesting to look at, not just from your perspective, but even like, all right, you have a race day plan, and then you have an actual execution, and where does it vary sometimes, right? So let me actually just pull this up and have a look here.
Yeah.
Real brief, high level. So here was some of your heart rate data. I think this was from Zagama itself. But if we're looking at your heart rate zones, and it's divided here in a few different zones, is this correct? Is your aerobic endurance zone about 136 to 153?
Yeah, it's yeah. If we take like these 4 zones, it will be like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I normally use like 5 zones myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we take like 4 zones, that will be kind of correct.
Yeah, I think the recovery zone.
I think, yeah.
Yeah, I think the recovery zone over here
zone 1.
Is exactly. So then, if we actually go through the breakdown, I thought this was quite interesting. So it's a breakdown per segment, where we actually see your heart rate data as well. So the first 30 kilometers, this was interesting to me. At the beginning of the race, your heart rate was indeed quite low. Like, whereas for me, as I see it at the start line already, like going quite up, and like you're definitely below 90 in the early stages, and then it creeps up over here. But the one part that I did notice, I see sometimes your heart rate still spiking up to the 160, 170. I know Jim Walmsley was going out quite hot at the beginning, quite fast, and you and Jim were running together over there. What was like that first 60 kilometers when you guys were running together?
Yeah, I think at the beginning it was mostly like, yeah, we were a group like with first Pau, and then with Jim, Tom Evans, and Zach Mueller. And it's mostly like you are running fast because you are fresh, and it's like all this excitement with all the people in the villages. It's a lot of people at the beginning. Climbs, you start to like, you still like kind of run part of the climbs. So it's more of that. So yeah, the first 30K, I would say you often like you run much faster the first 30K in UTMB than like Hard Rock or other races because of this like kind of public and excitement. So yeah, definitely it's like you need to be used to go like if you do short races, like maybe the heart rate is like at Zegama or like Serzina, like it's more like 180, something like that. So I think for UTMB, it's important that you are very used to have that, because then if you go like to 150, 160 during the race, it feels kind of easy, and you metabolically, you are not working a lot. So it's because definitely these first kilometers, it's run pretty fast.
Yeah, definitely. And then at some point, you decided, like, all right, my heart rate seems to be going quite high over here, that you somewhat let Jim Walmsley go. And the gap became a little bit further at that point. I saw that you guys were about 5 minutes apart at some point.
Yeah, even like more like 14 minutes, I think he took to me, yeah.
Wasn't it at some point, though, like that you almost felt the need to recover? Like that you felt like you were going in the red quite a bit and you had to step back a little?
Yeah, that happened actually after Courmayeur. It's this big climb to Bertone, and then we were like running together and going in a good pace. And after is like this balcony that we were like also keeping together. But then it's in the downhill to Arnuba, so before the Grand Col Ferret, he did like attack, like he was just going for it. And I was thinking, okay, that's too early for me. I was thinking it's still like 80 kilometers to go. I don't want to do that, but I don't want him to go too far in front. So I was a bit doubting, like, what should I do? Should I go or should I stay? And then I started to follow him for one, or like to try to follow for 1 minute. But since the start of the race, actually my legs were like hurting, the muscles weren't working well. So then that downhill, it felt like very, very bad. And then I was thinking, okay, no, that's it feels bad. And then I started to have bad thoughts also, like mentally. It's the end of the night. It's always a kind of hard moment. And then I was thinking, oh, the legs are like just hurting too much. It's still like 70K. And then I was thinking maybe like with the COVID effects, like it's still there and it's still too much. It starts to be long. So I was in very like negative thoughts there. And I was thinking, okay, no, I need to reset, like to go down to a very easy pace. So I was going down to like 100 pulse per minute, even lower. On this part, and just going very, very easy, try to pass that moment. And actually that happened until Mathieu Blanchard, who was like chasing behind very, very quick. He passed me. And then it was like, okay, like I tried to follow him. I was like, okay, I tried to follow him, go to the next aid station that is here in Champé, and there see how I feel and see how it goes. And actually him passing me, it switched mentally all this state, like from being super negative to being on racing mood again. And from there it was like, okay, race is on, like, let's go, let's fight, and just try to forget about the legs pain and go for it. And then like it was okay. In the uphill, I saw that metabolically it was working very well. I could push, and it was on for the next 40K.
Yeah, I can imagine that alone, like the whole part of running on your own versus then at that point going at it with someone again, because you basically went from second place to third place, and then it was you and Mathieu running together again. Like, I can imagine that that's almost like a second boost of energy, but you had to reset mentally in order to get there, right?
Yeah, exactly. I needed to really reset, because it was like these very negative like thoughts, like, okay, that's I don't know if I continue, I don't know if I stop. You always lie to you on long races, but it was like, oh, I don't feel good, like it's hurting, like, and you are like, that's what I'm doing here, or that, blah, blah. And then like just to have this spine of like, okay, no, it's like I need to race, that changed everything.
Yeah. And at what point did you, like, how did that last push go for you? At some point you decided to make a move. That was on an uphill, correct?
Yeah, because all the downhills I was feeling very bad since the beginning of the race. Like the muscles were like, coordination was horrible. It was pain. I didn't feel strength in the legs, so I knew that I couldn't like do any move on the downhills. So when Mathieu passed me in the next climb, actually I tried to push a bit to see how strong was he in the uphills. I saw that I could leave him in the uphill. Then in the downhill, I was seeing like how fast he could be in the downhill to see how much time he could take me. And then it's 3 uphills actually then. So the first it was like that. The second uphill and downhill we were running together. So I was trying to say, okay, now it's time to try to save some energy. And then the last uphill, I need to, if I want to win, I need to really give everything in this uphill in the last climb in the Tête au Vent, and try to make a big gap, because I know that in the downhill I would lose pretty much time. And that was the strategy, like to exiting Valoursin, to really push hard in that uphill, and then to try to go down, control, because I was feeling very bad on the downhills.
Yeah, wow, what a race. And it was really exciting all the way to the end. And eventually you see this footage of you running through the city, so many people cheering on and wanting to high five, and then being able to break the sub 20-hour barrier and getting a course record. What did that feel like coming through and actually looking back? Because you had a lot of back-to-back races, and many of the things actually fell into place this race season. Like, when you look back at this race season, how did it all come together for you?
I'm super happy. Like I couldn't, it was just so, like the plan for me, like the dream was to say, I do a training that it allows me to perform well on short and on long, and not only one short and long, but like to alternate short and long races. And that was what my goal was, to see if that plan worked, and it worked well. Like then, like I think good results in races, it just validates the idea of the training. So that was my goal, and it did. Like I'm super happy for how the races went, but I'm mostly happy for how all the training was going. Yeah, all the season.
Yeah, you put a lot of it into it, and just following some of the training rounds and then seeing it being executed on race day. That was, very well done over there. I have a few questions about some of the tests that I saw you do, because I saw quite a bit of behind the scene footage. When you came into an aid station, you would often sit down and there was someone besides you taking blood samples or taking different samples. Was that like lactate testing you were doing, or what type of testing were you doing over there?
Since this spring, I I have been talking with a physiologist from Spain, Jesus Albert Herms. We have been like thinking about training and different things, and he wants to do a study about how the body like it changed, and in different terms, like on biology, like all the cells, how they change, like on the physiological levels, on different kind of things. So he was doing some tests before and after the gamma, and then at UTMB, like he was doing like a lot of tests, like before and after. Very interesting to see what the results are, and the fueling to the gut, to the perception, to the neuromuscular system, and then like more the metabolical side. And then we're thinking it would be nice to do this test, or like some, not everything, but some tests during the race. But at UTMB, you can only have one person doing your resistance. So he was doing both. Like he was just putting all the food there. And then when I arrived, like I was just sitting, giving him my finger and just drinking and taking care of the aid station. And he was like taking samples on the race. It was mostly like lactate, glucose, and cholesterol. So he was doing this. That was kind of the time he had like to do the test. And then we were also like commenting, like he didn't see the results at the moment because like he was like focused on just doing it and that. But I was telling him like about like I felt like that in the last section, and he was saying, okay, it would be good maybe to eat this or to eat that for how you feel.
Yeah. So at this point, you didn't necessarily adjust much of your race strategy based on the lactate results that were coming in at that point, right?
I didn't know the results. Like he was just like recording on the machine, and then like the day after, like we were like looking at it. So it was mostly like not to pace the race, but just to understand, more like what are the changes on physiological like levels during a long race.
Yeah. What it's so funny though that he was doing everything. Like he seemed like he was really busy on race day over there, like poking you with the food and this and that. So I saw some photos from your food setup over there. I saw some rice balls, I saw some mini burritos and whatnot. Like what works well for you during an ultra when you're actually eating? I see you're taking in gels, I think Martin gels. I see some of the Martin bars, which I actually recently tried as well. Like what works for you on race day and how has that evolved over the years?
Well, it's evolved like a lot. Like before I was like doing bullshit, like really bullshit. Like I was just eating anything that I could find. And I had like always gastrointestinal problems until kind of this year where it was like, okay, I need to plan with the aid stations. The plan was to actually eat UTMB because also it's a bit warmer than, for example, Hard Rock, and the pace is a bit higher. I was thinking, okay, the pace is like on drink. So I was drinking like carbohydrates. It's a mix, like it's called mix 320 from Morten. Half a liter of water with almost 80 grams of carbohydrates. And that was every hour. And then every second hour, I was adding a bit of protein on that. But keeping this base of like every hour, half a liter with these 80 grams of carbohydrates. And then I was taking either gels or bars when I wanted a spike, like when I think, okay, now it's an uphill, I need to work more hard, or now it's a place when I want to go faster. Then before that, I was taking like a gel or a bar that it's also like a lot of carbs in that bar, and very fast carbs like sugar. So that was kind of the idea. Then it was to maintain a base. I'm very like my metabolism, my base metabolism is a fat metabolism. Like that's I always train like I never eat when training. I can go like 6, 7, 8, 10 hours. I never take anything, and so I have a very like a good fat metabolism. So then I was thinking I need to eat fat during the race. So I was taking some slower carbs of rice or potato with avocado or nuts. So I had these things more like to entertain all the base level. And then Other than that, just like I took two caffeine gels, one at the kind of second half of the night, and then one before the last uphill. So that was kind of the strategy. Mm-hmm.
Get some caffeine for caffeine indeed, right before that last uphill. That will, keep you mentally sharp. That's a good one. What about electrolyte intake? Do you take any additional salt or electrolyte pills?
No, no, I didn't take anything. Here is not that warm. It's warm, but no, like with the small sodium that is already in the drink, and it was enough.
Talk to me more about the fasted running, because I know in training you have indeed mentioned previously I don't eat much before my runs, sometimes during my runs. Was that always from the beginning with you? Because I heard some stories, even when you would go out with your mom on the trail sometimes for a long time, even not bringing food, but also not bringing water sometimes. Like, some of these things are adaptable, but you also want to ease into some of this, right? Like, how has that evolved over the years?
Yeah, like I think when it comes to that, often we do the mistake to say, okay, this guy is doing this. I will start next week to do that for my next race that is in 4 weeks. That the adaptations don't happen like that. Like, adaptations take time. So especially when it comes to the metabolism, like fat or glycogen, like some part is genetic and you cannot change, and some part you can train a bit, but it takes years of that. And same with water. Like, if you want to be able to not drink during trainings or for long hours, you need to have a very, like, the renal function needs to be very adapted to that. And that's something that it's built through years. If you try to do that without these adaptations, you will probably have like serious problems when it comes to the renal function. So I think that's things that I started to do when I was a kid. Because you go to the mountains and you cannot bring everything you want, so like it just gets used to that.
I think, and that's the part too, that all of these are different stresses to the body. They can be trained in certain ways. We just want to be strategic about it and not overdo it too much either, right? You want to go about all of these different things. Yeah, the body is very adaptable, like we talked about last time as well, whether it's with heat acclimation or whether it's with altitude. Same with calorie intake.
It's just you need
to be in that. Yeah, and you need to be in this sweat spot, because if you are doing too much, then the body will say just like a protection and not adapt. And if you are doing too little, then like the body will say, okay, I don't need to adapt. Like that's easy. So you want to be at that point when it comes to intake of food, when it comes to everything. And that's something that it's hard to find. But once you find it, I think it's when you can make adaptations. And that also evolves during a season, like probably at the beginning of the season, like you are able to put more efforts and to recover better. At the end of the season, you need to be more aware about like the recovery of everything. So like thresholds is not something that it's stable for your life. It's not stable for a year. It's something that it varies almost every day. So like you need to be aware of that. Like it's let's say if your lactate threshold is like whatever 2.5, that don't mean that it will be 2.5 today and in 2 months and in 6 months. Like that will change like every week. So, and you cannot do tests every day, but you need to be aware about the sensations that means and try to build with that. So I think it's either you have like a super science team behind that is doing like tests like every day to you that don't exist, or you try to build like some sensitivity with how you feel and relate to all these things you want to improve.
Well said. I want to talk a little bit more about mindset and stress. We previously talked about it, but there's a few follow-up questions on this topic, because I read in your book and also in your documentary that at certain times in your life, you have experienced higher stress levels and even anxiety for several years. You've publicly talked about this. What are some of the ways that has helped you cope with anxiety and with stress over the years?
Yeah, you see it very easy afterwards. I would say when you have anxiety, like you don't realize that is that. You just like are in a dealing with it, but you don't think it's anxiety or three thing. It's just like you think it's momentaneous things that they are triggered, but it's something that it's deeper. So for me, I mean, it was I'm a very introvert person, and like living in with all this exposure, it's something that it took me and still take me a lot of effort, but I know how to deal with it much better now. But I would say until I moved from France to Norway, I didn't or overcome the anxiety. Like I know that the years I was living in France, like I was racing, I was performing, I was like happy, but I had anxiety almost all the time. It's something that it was just on me, and my stress levels were high, even if I'm a very calm person, or like rationally I'm very calm, but inside it was working a lot. And that was like to move out. Like it was the thing that really like took away anxiety from me. And now I know, okay, if I want to go to crowded places or like things like that, I need to count them very well so I don't trigger that again, and to try to do it on a way that I know it's reasonable and it's not like every week or something like that.
Yeah, so this was one of your reasons that you had moved to Norway, right? Kind of away from the big circus. And I think you've also limited your amount of days that you were doing all sorts of travel and all sorts of activities to limit it within a certain window. Is that correct? Like that you were kind of batch that in?
Yeah, well, here is two things. One is for that, like one is for performance. I want to train. I want to be home. I want to be training well. And then also I don't want to be exposed to that all the time. So I try to have times where I'm just kind of just training and not thinking about that. And then if I need to do things, I put like on a window, okay, I know that now it will be these X days that it will be like that, and I can handle it. And then it's also like I'm more like on a environmental like concern. Like I don't want to be traveling around like all the time, because that's like kind of it's very bad for the planet. So I just try to rationalize that to a few moments every year, and that's some moments that really make sense for me, kind of.
So for you, if you experience certain higher stress levels, is it like, do you do some meditation or some yoga or some journaling, or is it more going to the mountains and going for a run? Like, how do you deal with this?
Well, like, how did I deal at the moment? It was the wrong way. Like for years, it was like, I don't like alcohol. I don't like the taste. And for a few years, I was drinking a lot after every race. And that was a response to that, to deal with it. And also like I was sometimes, especially at the beginning when I was going to the mountains, taking some risks that they were very stupid. So to feel the adrenaline on that. So it was this rush of adrenaline coming from it. And that was the way I dealt with anxiety for a few years. Now I think it's more, I know what can trigger me that, and I don't want to get to that point. So it's just like try to avoid it. And then it's just like to be more like, I think it's more the self-knowledge of knowing, okay, I know that will trigger, so I say no before it happens. Or if I see that I'm going there, I just like calm, stop, and go away from it. So I think it's mostly this self-awareness. That's because I think I think now it's working well for me that way. Yeah.
That's good. I'm very happy that you have found a nice balance. And it looks like you and Emily live in a beautiful place now in Norway with your family, with a lot of space around you and a garden. And it seems like a nice place to live for the mind as well. Yeah,
connection to nature, it's so important, I think. Like I love mountains. I could not live, like if I go to a city, like I can spend some hours there before I feel like, okay, I want to get out from here. I want this connection to mountains. But I think in general we need much more connection to nature, like to the air, to the elements, to the touch of the sand, of the grass. It's something that and it's proved like for stress, for like the well-being, both psychologically and physically. It's something that we need to do more. We need connection to nature to be healthy, and we are living more and more in cities, so it's kind of the opposite.
Absolutely, I can imagine. Real brief, how is your approach to strength training these days? Like I see quite a bit of athletes. Let's say they have 8 hours a week available. They just go run 8 hours a week and that's it. Whereas, in an ideal world, there might be some strength training involved, or some mobility, or some cross training. Or like, what is your current approach to strength training, mobility, and cross training?
Cross training, I do a lot because like I do 6 months basically skiing.
Yes, that's right.
So that's and then like, for example, now when recovering, I'm going to run, but I'm going to scramble. So like it's more like climbing, and you move the body. You go super slow because it's technical. So it's more like mobility and like also strength, because it's like you are using muscles differently. And actually strength, I don't do any like on a gym, but what I do a lot is like go climbing, or like also like doing activities like skiing and things like that it really uses much more the muscles. And then just if I have something like specific, like for example when I dislocated my shoulders, then I was doing like specific training like on strength for the shoulders. Or if I have a problem in one leg, I will like do a program just for that. But the basis is just to do other activities that allows me to be doing strength and mobility, and then it's fun because it's just out and climbing.
Do you have any advice to non-elite runners for ways to integrate strength or mobility? Because it sounds like you're really doing it more in a playful way, that it's probably good for you mentally to mix it up, but it also brings you excitement and it still works out the muscles. Do you have any advice to the non-elite runner here?
Yeah, especially like if some people like to go to the gym, but for many, especially runners, they don't like to go to the gym. It's boring. You don't fit well there or whatever. And I think like to do these activities, like just to go to the climbing gym, like to go and try some boulder problems and try to climb there, it will be very fun. And it's and you are building like strength, and you are building like the coordination and like mobility, and it's very interesting. Or like do other activities that they involve like more and more strength, that can be I don't know, like many of the throws or things like that, or like if you go like probably some sports in the sea or biking too, that you can be working more the muscle side. So like I think find activities that they are much more harder on a muscular level, and that you find fun, like you are enjoying it, and to try to integrate that into your plan. And that can be things also that you do with your family, because if you go like to climb, like you can go with your family, with your kids, with your wife, and it's not just like, okay, I go to train, I go to the gym and that, but you just go, okay, this weekend or this afternoon we can go to the climbing gym and spend a couple of hours there, have fun, and same time it's helping my training.
Yeah. Even just putting the kid on the back is already cross training when you're hitting up the trails, right? I've seen you do that as well, skiing or let's talk about failure for 1 second, because I know you aim for many high goals and many times you accomplish it, yet sometimes you might miss the goal as well. How has failure grown you as an athlete, or what are some of your favorite failures that you experienced and set you up for success later?
Well, like failure, it's there all the time, like and it's important, and it's a part of the game. It's a part of the journey. And it's where probably you analyze better. When it's only success, like you will say, okay, it was good, but that's kind of the only overtake. If you have like failure, like you will say, okay, try to analyze what's been good, what's been wrong, how can I improve, and it's that way that you can you can grow as an athlete, as a person, wherever. So in my career, I would say like things that like I remember when I was younger, it was like with anger, like when I was like missing a race, or like, oh, I was in good shape and I did this mistake, or I especially in ski, like a lot of technical problems. It's like it's anger. You are there like, oh, yeah, you are not happy at all. And then over the years, it's been more like just to know that a race or a project, it's a part of the journey, but it's only a part. It's not the entire journey. So like if you have done a good training, if you have like learned and improved a lot during that process, and then the race, the final project goes well, it's just like this part that goes well. If it goes bad, like it's only that part that goes bad. Like it's not the entire journey. So it's just like and yeah, it's good days, it's bad days, it's things that you learn, and it's just like a part of it. And I think it's very important to not focus too much on the outcome of the result, but to focus on the journey. And the journey is what you have learned, what you have achieved personally through all this process. And I would say always focus on the process, not focus on the outcome, not focus on the result. And the result at the end is just like, as I mentioned before, validation of that process, but it's not the only validation. So that's to rationalize that way. I think it's a big part of dealing and taking the best of failure, like to take to try to analyze and not be upset and not be obsessed about the result, but just to try to see what's been good, what's been bad, and how you can do better the next time.
Spot on. We can learn so much from the process alone, like going through some of these training cycles. And yeah, indeed, the race is just one race day, and a lot of different things can happen there. Very well said. I want to be respectful of your time. I have two more questions over here. One was, last time we talked about, you mentioned the importance of low intensity training and also adding in some higher intensity at the right time as well. How would you say would someone go about finding out what that right balance is? Because we still see quite a few people training in that yellow zone, right? How do you know how much to train at the lower intensity and how much to train in that higher intensity zone?
Yeah, I would say like it depends a lot of your way to deal with the charges. Some people can deal a lot with high intensity and will be able to do high intensity for very long, but they will struggle with the volume. Some people will be the opposite. They will like be able to do a lot of volume, but when they do a lot of intensity, they get injured. So first, like, know who you are. Like, that's the first question. Like, when it comes to training, it's not like what's the typical plan. No, like, typical plan it's for a typical person that don't exist. So like, try to understand who you are. Like, what's your physiology? What's your capacities? What's your adaptation from the past and your everything like that. And then from there, build. And that building is like, try to see, okay, I have these projects, these races. And so with my capacities, maybe it's good that I work on this yellow zone for long before I start to do intensity, or it's better that I do like polarized from the beginning, or it's better that I do more like volume. And then like that's something that you need to figure out with your capacities. But then like, I think that's more far away on the season. When it gets more into the racing moment, I think there it's more important to really take care about the easy days, to say, okay, it's you want to be in shape and fresh for the races. It's not that you are racing the trainings, you need to race the races. And for that, you need to be able to push very hard physically, mentally the day of the race. And if you are doing that every day on training, the day of the race, you will be empty. So train well, but never to the exhaustion. Like train until a point that you feel like you have something left, and then go easy. Like just enjoy the easy days and recover until your next hard training. And that, I think, on race season is the most important. Yeah.
So well said. That's why I also think I don't see you train in that zone 5 red zone quite much. It's very, very minimal that I ever see you hit there.
Yeah, I know I get injured. Like if I train like at that speed, I will get injured very quick. So I can do a lot of tempo. I can do a lot of threshold. But if I hit the higher intensity, I get injured. So I know that I don't touch it.
There you go. There are quite a few people listening to this podcast who run a variety of different terrain, but also some who only run road. Sometimes I notice people get intimidated by trail running or by mountain running. Do you have any thoughts over here on advice for people wanting to get more comfortable, more into trail running and not get too intimidated, but more truly enjoying the trail and even the ultra distances here?
I think it's mostly to not be afraid of walking. Like walking is a part of trail running, and it's a part of like this sport. And we think that we need to run all the time, and then we can feel intimidated of like, wow, I need to run over this mountain, over that. And it's like, no, it's okay to walk. It's okay to hike and just like go and it's like a fast hiking. Like I would say, like take it like that way and start like doing it that way, and then you go faster, and then you would eventually run. But don't think about like racing the mountains, but just like having a nice hike and then just like eventually go faster. And I think it's more like, I think when it comes from road running, where it's all about, or big part about like the times and like the pace, and like you are a 2:10 or a 2:20 or a 3 or a 4 hours marathon. Like that's who defines you as an athlete in the roads. In the trails, it's not like that way. It's like you cannot think about the pace. You cannot think about these times. It's just like, okay, I want to go to this mountain and I want to climb it and going down, and then you can do that hiking. And I think, yeah, that's for the transition is to forget about like pace and to just not be afraid of walking. And then, yeah, running will come.
Incredibly well said. Kilian, thank you so much for sharing all your insights. I really, really enjoy our conversations over here. It's like so refreshing to hear someone like you say some of these things as well. Like obviously you have trained for many different years, but even you going back to some of these basic fundamentals that are so important for athletes of all different levels is great to hear here. Do you have any closing thoughts that you want to share with the audience before we sign off here?
Just that I think we sometimes like we put a lot of weight on what we are doing, like training and like competitions, and like if you are doing the race or you're training that, and like bad days, and we need to remember at the end of the day that we are doing that because we love it, because we like it, and that's the most important to not forget. Like when you are suffering if you are obsessed about the thing, just like say, okay, why I'm doing that on the first time? It's just because I love it, and I have the health to do it, and I have the possibility of doing it. So like if it goes wrong, I'm still doing something that is amazing, that I love it. So just like I think that's the base, like that we are able to do something that we love it, and we need to remind that every day we are training or racing.
Absolutely. We're so fortunate we're able to do this. Kilian, thank you so much. I'll make sure to add links to your website, to your foundation. Real brief, actually, you have now a podcast as well, right?
Yeah, we are doing a podcast, like actually it's called Athlete Climate Academy. So we are like interviewing a lot of different experts, scientists, like PhDs, engineers about different topics on climate and environmental science. Our big race, our big fight will be like climate change. So we try to educate ourselves on what are the tools that we we will need for that.
Absolutely. I'll make sure to link to that as well. I listened to several episodes on my runs in the last few weeks. It was really well done. And it's actually nice to hear you hosting a podcast over there. And I'll make sure to link to your new apparel and footwear company, Normal, as well. When is that one launching?
We are launching in now in the fall, so like just a few weeks. So we are very excited.
Very excited. We can't wait to see that launch as well. Thanks so much, and we'll talk again soon. Have a good one.
Thank you.
All right. Bye. Hey there, just a few closing comments. I hope you enjoyed my second conversation with Kilian. And I would love to hear from you in the comments. What was one of your favorite lessons, quotes, or takeaways from this episode? Please let me know in the comments on YouTube. And it really becomes a nice compilation of takeaways from the community, really. Also, every week I write a newsletter for Extra Milist. If you would like to receive that in your inbox with training tips and race strategies from myself, but also from other different podcast guests, you can subscribe at extramilist.com. If you have not heard my first conversation with Kilian, I can highly recommend it. It was about training adaptation, about training intensity, about heat, about acclimation to altitude, and a variety of other topics. You can find it over here on YouTube, or you can find it on your favorite podcast platforms, and I'll make sure to leave a link below as well. All right, have fun out there on your runs. Later.